Oxley here for Tactical TV and for GOSA Girls on Fire. Today I'm speaking with Roslyn Moodley, an amazing woman that survived some domestic abuse and currently a finalist in the Fabulous Women Awards. Welcome, Roslyn.
Thank you kindly.
Tell us a little bit more about this Fabulous Women Awards and what it means to you personally to have been nominated for this.
The Fabulous Women Awards actually honors women and girls who possess ethical leadership, vision, philanthropy, innovation, entrepreneurial drives, with an ultimate goal is to present role models for other women to aspire them throughout South Africa. And to me, this vote motivates me to be the best and to do my best. Actually being nominated for various awards since I've relocated the province. It's actually boosted my confidence level amazingly. So yeah, that's what it's done for me.
So it's been very empowering.
Very
fantastic,
empowering.
Fantastic. You've been in an abusive relationship, and although you've been divorced since 2019, your feelings are still very raw about this abuse. Can you tell us if this is still ongoing and what happened?
Coming out of a marriage of 26 years, coming out of a 26-year relationship, it doesn't just take 3 years for the wounds to get closed. Healing is ongoing. Every day, I would say, gets better. The move from bitter to better. Sometimes I can't control the triggers from triggering. I watch a movie. I'll see a romantic scene. I'll get emotional. I see a family spending a day out on picnics. These are the triggers that triggers the raw emotions. But I always say to myself, what I do after the trigger is most important. So yes, I do have my meltdown. Then I jump back up and then I realize it's time to put on your big girl's panties and you to carry on. So yeah, we do get triggers every now and again, but it's how we deal with it.
Yeah, that's my motto in life is put your big girl panties on and get on with it, because nobody else is going to get on for you.
Nobody else is going to.
So tell me, one of the questions that I had when I read your story is, what role has social media played in your abuse?
Wow. Prior to my divorce, I would say nothing, nothing or none. But after my divorce, yes, I have a whole village of protesters, which uses social media and all platforms for smear campaigning, and yes, I've developed a fan club for breaking the silence. Unfortunately, that comes from our culture. And social media, in all forms, WhatsApp, Facebook, in every avenue, wherever they can, you got the protesters there. So it actually had a major factor after my divorce.
Okay, and good and bad, but mostly bad?
Mostly bad.
Okay. Yeah, when I talked to Gerard Labuskachny in a previous video, which we talked about looking into the abyss, he said that social media can be really, really bad for ladies in an abusive relationship. So it was very interesting for me to say, when I read your story, that to say that I'm actually climbing out of the abyss of despair. And that's basically what we are calling this video, is climbing out of the abyss of despair.
Yes.
So you were in a very long relationship, 26 years. When did you realize that everything was not okay in the relationship?
The first abuse started the first couple of months of my marriage. We went out on we went out on a night with the family, came out to the parking lot, and he started hitting me because I was speaking to a family member. I had all the red flags back then, but being naive and being young, I was only 19. I didn't identify this with abuse, I just thought maybe, what, this is part of being married. You're not allowed to talk to somebody else. But as years went by, we learn and we realize that we educate ourselves, we empower ourselves, and then I realized this is actually verbal and emotional abuse. And it became more frequent and it became a thing of the norm, And then I was like, this is definitely abuse.
So it took both physical and mental abuse. Did it progress? As I said in my previous video, I was also talking about it. It progresses and progresses, and it never ends well. What type of abuse, and did it get worse?
Well, I think in my instance, it was more emotional, mental, verbal, financial, substance abuse, and yes, physical abuse. But the emotional and the mental abuse somewhat just played mind games with me. You're trading on thin ice. You don't know which side you're going. One day you're the best, and the next day you're not. So in my case, it was more the mind gaming thing that I just could not handle anymore. It was torture. It was traumatizing, and I just couldn't deal with it. So yeah.
They always make you feel like nothing because that's the way they control you.
Exactly.
So tell me, what do you think should be done at macro levels about GBV, gender-based violence? Because Bekele talks about it, but he doesn't really do it from a police side.
I don't think that on the government level much is being done. People like ourselves, we're constantly trying to get NPOs registered, and we're constantly trying to get help from the justice system, and sometimes we're not actually granted what we needed to do. But I think everything possible to create awareness globally and nationally. I engaged in conversation with somebody down in a township, and believe you and me, this gentleman had no idea when I spoke to him about gender-based violence. So enough is not being done. We need to get into areas like that to make people aware, to get kids aware of what gender-based violence, because it traumatizes kids as well. It's a cycle. It's a vicious circle. So what happens to the mom filters down to the kids, and gender-based violence is not it's not restricted. So we need to really get out there, and we really need to scream and to shout. And the more of us do it, the louder we're going to be heard. We're going to be heard. So yeah, I think it's basically creating global and national awareness.
I know that I spoke to somebody called Omaholo, and she's from GBV Monitor. And the rural areas, there's where the real silence happens, because people have no means to actually report or get out of the abusive relationship.
Correct, definitely. This gentleman that I actually spoke about is from a very predominant area. We just had recent cases of the shootouts in that area as well. So we have to start doing what we need to do urgently.
And I can hear you're quite passionate about that.
Yes.
Although I can't see you. On a micro level, what would your message to a woman be, to women out there that's still in an abusive relationship be? What would you say to them?
Well, I'd assess the situation, depending on the circumstances. Remember, like myself, most women, finance plays a major factor in it.
Absolutely.
Then you got to look at if they've got kids. Most cases, some families won't take people in because they are committed to their families. Where do they keep you? Then we have to identify if the abused is gainfully employed. Gauging from these kind of informations, we'd receive our information received from the victim. The right conversation will then be followed. Then I'd ask the question: do you have a place to stay? Do you need a place? I could put you up in a place of safety. Would you need help in us helping you to open up a case? Let's go to the police station, then getting protection orders in place. But more so, it's depending on the person's situation. So every victim is different. So you got to play it by ear.
You did mention right in the start of the interview about cultural and other influences. How does society and family support all or the lack of that play a role in gender-based violence and abuse?
Well, I think for me, again, coming from a typical Indian culture, divorce is not something that is allowed. It's of the unthinkable. That was my greatest fear. More embarrassing my family, embarrassing my parents, my extended families. Then I started self-sabotaging and then the camouflaging. Fortunately for me, I had a good support system from my family. My sister, who I moved into when I came up to Johannesburg, when I've done my major move, she was my rock. She was my saving grace. So I think it's very important that we have a good support system before anything, you know. Yeah, I think that's basically it. Our cultures, with culture, it's taboo. It's some people, the older folk, just don't understand. They don't understand and they don't support you. You've always got to know, you got to stay behind and you got to make it work. Let's just try. But they don't realize in the duration that you can be trying, you can actually leave there in a coffin. So it's very important that you have good support structure.
You say also in your piece that you wrote that you need justice for yourself and for other women in the same circumstances. What do you mean by that?
I wasn't allowed to do what I was passionate about or voice my opinion and to be heard. Then I took a leap of faith. This is where my transformation from Mrs. to Miss evolved. It was one of the most courageous acts that I've performed, was to finally think for myself and act on my thought. Some days I had to fake it to make it. And as a result of this thirst for justice, I started developing this burning desire to climb up the abyss for myself, and now to step out into the world and to take a brave step. My goal back then was to take care of myself, to heal and to become strong. I had to gain my identity. I had to know who Roslyn was, and I had to regain my self-respect, my self-love. And by using my voice that was once silenced, for the voiceless, I'm now offering victim support. So I want other women to use my experiences and to reflect from my experiences. So yes, that is my justice.
That's absolutely awesome. It makes me very proud to know you, because it's something that not everybody does. You need to that we have a voice and we have a choice. That's part of the Girls on Fire song. And you have to speak up.
Thank you.
The last thing, you said you felt pity for your abuser. What did you mean by that?
I'm fortunate that I have family, that I had a good support structure, very open-minded. My family always takes a problem and looks for a solution in an amicable way. They've never taken my side for my divorce. It was always two sides to a coin and tried to make it work. They've never taken, my abuser and just brushed him off. He's now non-existent. But my abuser comes from a narcissistic family where they don't know any better. History is just repeating itself. So it's a typical example of the blind leading the blind. Generational curses will never be broken if we don't help them to break the cycle. People who side with the abuser and shift blame onto you are no different from the abuser. In my belief, absolutely, toxic is toxic, even by proxy. Knowing one of the causes of my divorce was substance abuse, and they used to feed his habits. They will make sure that his glass is always topped up. How will change take place when he himself is not taking accountability? How would progress take place? So for me, being the father of my kids, I really worry about his mental health. And I really hope and pray that he does get the help that he needs. I don't believe jumping from, when a guy jumping from one relationship to the next is going to do anything to help you. It all works with your mental health. You've got to get help in order to see that help, take it and you take the tools and put it into practice. I'd really like to see him heal.
That's really good. Tell me, the last thing is, what is your short and long-term goals? for yourself?
My short-term goal is to continuously empower myself and to stay focused. I think more importantly, staying focused and walking the walk instead of walking the talk. I've got to walk the walk. Um, my long-term goal is presently, I'm busy opening up. It's busy with the DSD, the Department of Social Development. I am busy registering my NPO. My aim is to reach as many women as possible that need my help. I'm there to give them a shoulder to cry on. I want to walk the walk with them in opening up cases. I want to help them and aid them to do protection orders, basically to give them love. And it's very important. Women need people to believe in them. It's very important that they need to know that they're loved. I don't care who you are, what is your social status, which township you come from. I'm here to give love and spread love. So I want to help women heal.
We've been speaking to Roslyn Moodley. She has a voice and she's spoken up for herself, which is an amazing feat for somebody that's had very little development time for herself. She went into an abusive relationship at 19, and after 26 years, she's taking her life back. Well done, Roslyn, and we will be in touch, and hopefully Girls on Fire can work with you with your project as well.
Thank you kindly, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, and have a fantastic day.